Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Pulse of the Ring, and I am here with the one and only Elliott Shock. How are you doing today, my friend?
Hey, I'm doing all right, man. Doing all right. I see you got a little charged up. That's what I like to see.
Oh yeah, anytime I get to speak to a wrestler, I get that flow in me. It makes me want to get back in the ring, and then my body tells me, "Dog, you're too old to be doing taking bumps." But I have loved wrestling since I was a kid. I was able to try to do pro wrestling for 6 years. Body gave up. Finally found a love for the interview. So I decided, why not give back to the business that I love most? And I'm really good at interviewing people. So decided to take this leap.
That's what I'm talking about, man. That's what I'm talking about. Then I'm excited for this interview right here.
Yes, yes, yes. So first and foremost, I like to ask people, how did you first get interested in becoming a professional wrestler?
So I think the interest really just came from me just watching it, period.
Hmm.
Uh, I first got introduced to wrestling. Ever since I watched it, I just always wanted to do it. So I mean, you hear those stories about, this is my childhood dream. Been wanting to do it since I was 6 years old, 5 years old. I
Yeah,
fall into that column right there.
same. What was the first match that said, yes, that right there?
Oh man, so I was watching. This was back in 2006.
Okay.
Was watching the Kane versus Kane feud. That was my first introduction,
Mm.
and it was like I think it was. I don't even remember the match. I think it was Kane versus Shelton. I just remember Shelton being
Hmm.
and then Mass Kane, Luke Gallows coming out, and I just thought, yo, that is so cool. You're fighting yourself, bro. Like I didn't know what was going on. I was just like, yo, this dude is in a mask. Yo, he looks so cool. And then I watched the Vengeance match like right after.
Hmm.
But that was like my first introduction. Like looking back on it now is like the match was, whatever. But
Yeah.
I'm just like, yo, this is amazing. I don't know what's going on. This is him, but he's standing right there. It's like it's blowing my mind as a kid. So ever since that, I just was like, okay, wrestling is my thing from here on till forever.
Hmm.
So
That's kind of how I am too. Like the first actual memory of wrestling, and I don't know how I initially turned to wrestling, was seeing Shawn Michaels kick Bret Hart when he was in the wheelchair.
oh wow.
Yeah, and I tell people all the time, I don't know why I had turned on the TV to that channel and like just what happened, but ever since then it just clicked. The the thing about me, where I was like, yes, I want to do that, is when I saw the Undertaker throw Mankind off the Hell in a Cell.
Mm.
I was like, I want to do that. And now that I'm at 37, I'm like, I'm so happy I didn't want to do that. And why was that the moment that I said, yes, I want to become a professional wrestler? Because knowing what we know now from that match,
Hmm.
oh my God.
It's mind boggling, man. But that's the risk that we take.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
So, what what do you think is the hardest thing about professional wrestling? Would you say it's the mental part, or would you say it's the physical part?
I would say it's the mental part, in all honesty. Like, I mean, in wrestling, you're always going to have to take physicality, some sort of
Hmm.
physicality. So it's like there's no avoiding that, of course. But the mental part of it is completely undermined, I feel like sometimes. It's like we're, long days, long nights, long travel hours. Are you doing this right? What am I doing wrong? Can I make it? Will I make it? It's a bunch of questions that you're asking yourself, and it's like it can dwell on a person's mental state. I feel as though, especially in our business,
Yeah.
it's like, you know what I'm saying. As you're doing like 12, 13 hour drives to a show, you have so many thoughts going into your head, especially coming back out of the match. Like, oh, am I doing the right things? I hope somebody was watching. Maybe I'll get a contract from this match. Maybe I'll never get signed.
Hmm.
And it's everyday cycle. It's an everyday cycle with the business, I feel as though. But not a lot of people think about that. I think a lot of people just look at the physicality part of it and be like, oh, ew, that hurts.
Yeah,
I that. But they don't take into account, aside from the physicality, what goes on in our heads.
I remember the longest weekend of my life when it came to wrestling because at the time I lived in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
We had to drive to a show in Detroit, then drive to Chicago for another show,
Ooh,
and then drive back home to Orlando. So that was we left, I think, Thursday, and then we are driving back Sunday.
ooh, yeah.
And that that was honestly the hardest weekend of my life
Mm.
because being in the car for so long, there was four of us, but only two of us could drive.
Oh, Jesus. So, yeah, back and forth.
And that honestly sometimes is the worst is when there's somebody who either can't or refuses to drive
Yeah.
because driving takes a huge toll. And I actually had to drive the most because they gave one of my people who could drive an edible, and it started to affect him to the point where he was like, I can't move. I need somebody to.
Oh,
Yeah, so I,
guys, I might need you.
so I ended up driving the whole 14 hours because I'm the type of person where I'm just going to drive as long as I can. If it's the 14 hours, fuck it. I'm driving the 14 hours. But I
Hmm.
drove that whole route and I was like, I never want to do that again. And that's the mental part that took me. It's like I'm driving all this time, like nobody else can drive. I'm annoyed right now. Every 2 seconds, can we stop? Can we pull over? I was like, this is why I wish I could fly everywhere.
Nah, man, who you telling? If I can get a ticket, bro, Southwest Airlines, I'd probably do it every time.
So, do you or how does your family feel about you becoming a pro wrestler and when you told them you were becoming a pro wrestler?
Uh, I mean, they were pretty supportive of it. I
Mm-hmm.
know every mother worries about their child. So, it was a major concern for her, me being gone so many hours throughout the day or multiple days out the week or whatever. I remember when I first started, when my schedule started to pick up a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
I would come in the house maybe 3 days after I had already left, and I hadn't seen her just because of my schedule conflict and forever. And so she would always make comments of like, "Oh, I haven't seen you in a couple of days. I haven't seen you in a week. I just wish you would rest. I wish you would, just sit down and be at the house all day."
Mm-hmm.
There was a time where she would be like, "I wish you would get out the house all day." So it's
Like, why are you in the house? Go touch some grass.
exactly. And now that I'm touching grass, she's like, "I wish you would stay home, not touch grass."
Mm-hmm.
But it's a complete 180. But she's very supportive. She understands what I'm doing. Same thing with my dad. Very supportive of what I'm doing. He understands that this is a pretty big dream of mine.
Mm-hmm.
But he wants me to just chase it as long as possible. And he knows I'm going to make it. So with that in mind, keeping me that's what keeps me going right there.
Mm-hmm.
Their support, that tells me everything's going to be okay.
And what you saying that you would come home like 3 days after you would leave, how hard is it to balance, your wrestling life with other things? Like if you're going to school, you got work, you have like relationships. How is that?
It's pretty difficult. I can't lie to you. Like I do work an actual job from Sunday through Thursday, and then the weekends, Friday, Saturday, sometimes Sunday, I'll be able to get to travel and do my wrestling, and then
Mm-hmm.
it's a 7 day circuit all over again. So it's never really like I have any rest to begin with anymore in order to do the things that I want to do, which is wrestling. So it is pretty difficult, and then adding on top of the other miscellaneous things like relationships, like we just said, and then anything else I would want to do outside of wrestling. You know what I'm saying? It's difficult for me to try and mix it all up and juggle it all up into like actual substantial like week. If that
Mm-hmm.
makes
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Because at the time when I was wrestling, luckily, I was in the military, so they paid me to go to school. So I went to school, then wrestled. Going to school, wrestle. And I was able to balance it. but some people aren't able to have the government pay you to go to school, so they got to get a job, and they're doing all this. Sounds like there's not enough hours in the day, like to get the proper amount of sleep, to work out, eat. There's going to be times where you have to sacrifice something out of the day, and that's why I try to tell some of my friends who are like, "Oh, wrestling's this, that." I'm like, no, the sacrifice that wrestlers have to go through is a struggle in and of
Hmm.
itself. Um, so what does professional wrestling mean to you?
Man, I mean, I mean, I would say wrestling is everything to me. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I grew up with it immensely and pretty much defines me who I am as a person. Majority of who I am as a person, actually. You know what I'm saying? I've grown up with it. I don't think I can live life without it. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Devoted a lot of time into watching it, now becoming a wrestler, and to hopefully be able to make it and say that, I was a world champion or something along the lines. So, it means the world to me and then some. Yeah, I don't think words can really describe it.
Yeah, yeah, no. I tell my fiance it's a wrestling is a drug. Like
Hmm.
to hear whether the crowd is booing you or cheering you, as long as they're making noise, honestly,
Exactly.
it's a love that you can't really get anywhere. And I tell people all the time when they try to say wrestling is fake, wrestling is the closest that someone can get to being around an actual superhero or a supervillain. Like everybody will watch the MCU, anime, the DCU, and they would want to be Batman. They want to be Captain America. You can you can touch your favorite wrestler. You can talk to them.
Hmm.
Eventually, you can be your favorite wrestler, and like it's the most amazing thing in the world. Sorry, I geek out a lot when it comes to wrestling.
I feel that. I feel that. Trust me, I agree completely.
What is the funniest thing that's ever happened to you at training?
At training,
Yeah.
uh, probably during a practice match, I think, right? I think I was doing a tag team match in practice, just getting the reps in or whatever.
Hmm.
And it was at the start of the match. So we locked up. I took him down, got him in a waist lock, and we're just working for a second. Dude immediately farts. I don't know how to react. I just ball out laughing. I'm trying not to break. So I'm just covering my lip just like this, trying to
Yeah.
fight it. I'm just he whispers in my ear, he's like, brother, we might have to go to the finish. I'm trying to hold it in. But we're working and just the rest of the match I couldn't hold it in. I couldn't hold it in. And it was only like 5 minutes. Like we only went 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So
Like I tell people all the time also, like, yeah, I'm 37, but I'm still childish. Farts make me laugh.
hey man, you know what I'm saying? Thing and everything can make somebody break.
Yeah. Um, let's see. Sorry, my cat just ran in here and scared the
I'm
hell.
like,
What is the best advice that you've gotten in training?
in training,
Hmm.
I would say it's something I also still apply to this day. It's stay the course. You know what I'm saying? Like we talked about, the mental and physicality portion of wrestling can be very draining sometimes.
Hmm.
So, you know what I'm saying? And mix that in with anything else that you're going through in life. My coach LeBron would tell me to stay the course. Like no matter what's going on, whether it's in training, whether it's in a match, after a match, you're coming back home, whatever it may be. As long as you're staying focused on what you want to achieve, everything's going to work out just fine.
I,
And hey, I still keep that in mind no matter if I'm coming back from a show, if I'm going to a show, if I got this big weekend ahead of me, and then maybe even outside of the ring, like if I got situation problems, like my shoot job isn't working out, my girlfriend's mad at me, whatever, blah blah blah. You know what I'm saying? As long as I stay the course, get to the goal that I'm trying to get to, everything's
mhm.
there's gonna be roadblocks, but saying no matter if you got a curve, you're gonna keep going down that straight path.
I like that. Um, what is your favorite match you've been in?
that I've been in.
Yes.
I got a couple, man. I can't really pinpoint it to like a specific one.
Mm-hmm.
Could give you like a top three or top five.
Hey, whatever you feel.
Okay, I'll give you like a top five. In no particular order, I would say I wrestled this triple threat match in my previous gimmick. It was against the guys named Christian Cross and Rob Killjoy
I
at five.
know Killjoy.
Yeah, Killjoy is really fantastic. That was the only time I've ever worked him.
Okay.
Bar, and there was a really fun match. I was nervous, but
Mm-hmm.
Rob said he liked it, and that was really important to me. So there was that one. I had a really fun match with a guy named Morgan Dash at Firestar. That was really good. He's also a guy that people should look out for. Um, One of the up and comers in wrestling as of right now in the North Carolina scene, St. Julius. I've wrestled him a handful of times, but if I had to say a specific match, I'd probably say ours at a promotion called Wrestling Evolution in Denver, North Carolina. That's pretty good. My matches with I think my match with Oliver Sawyer.
Mm-hmm.
Those were the ones that really put me on the map. I feel as though Oliver, he's kind of wishy-washy right now with wrestling, but he's still a guy that I attribute a lot of my success to, or at least the train getting started.
Yeah.
And then finally, last match, I'd probably say I'm trying to think about it because I've had a lot of matches.
Oh, no worries. No worries.
Oh man, probably against this guy named Bobby Valentine. Really, really fun guy. Me and him have had a lot of hard hitting matches. He's the guy that I beat for my first singles championship in wrestling.
Okay. Nice.
That match was really important.
So when it comes to wrestling, do you prefer single man matches like one-on-one or multi-mans?
I'm more of a singles guy, really. So, I prefer one on one matches, but I've always enjoyed myself doing multi mans, especially four ways for some reason. Like,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you hear the saying, like, four ways and three ways or multi mans periods don't always go too good if you're calling it. But the ones that I've been in so far, like, I've enjoyed every single bit.
Nice. Yeah, I used to like going one-on-one, but I've always been a fan of tag team wrestling. So
Hmm.
I've always wanted to be like a tag team champion. I could never find a partner who I gelled with, but yeah. Plus, I always said with having a being a tag team specialist, that is half of what I have to remember. Because I'm the
Exactly.
type of person where I might more than likely forget what's going to happen next. And I'm going to be like, all right, punch me.
I
Like
feel
when all else fails, it's like, hey, just
just
punch me.
like, punch, grab a hold, man.
Yep.
That's
And,
all it is.
and that's a lot of people, like if it's not paint by numbers, they
Hmm.
deer in headlights like, oh shit, you
Exactly.
forgot. What are you supposed to do next? I'm like, yo, just hit me, grab a hold. I'm the type of person where I like making people look better.
Hmm.
So just, hey, just move me around, punch me, I'll move.
Exactly.
I can make a 10-minute match 5 minutes of me just moving.
Exactly. And that's just working on the fly right there, man.
Mm-hmm.
I genuinely feel like that's like a lost art in wrestling nowadays. It's like, you go into locker rooms a lot as of right now. It's like, we'll call this, we'll call this, we'll call the whole entire match. But if you look at the old guys, like a Bret Hart or a Kurt Angle or Eddie Guerrero, you didn't really need to call anything. You know,
Yeah.
call a couple spots here and there, but they would just go out and just wrestle. But everything they would do would make sense.
Yep.
Uh, so I just feel like that's like a lost art. I don't think a lot of people realize.
So I was trained by Jesus Rodriguez, which is Ricardo Rodriguez,
Mm,
and he would do that all the time. He's like, "Hey, we're just gonna call this in the ring." I would be a deer in heads like, "Fuck, fuck, 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 fuck," because Jesus he's a genius in the ring, but he would always make sure to take care of me. He wasn't like those ones like, hey, we're just gonna get our shit in. He would make it make sense.
Exactly.
And that's sometimes I feel, even in some of the major promotions, sometimes it just doesn't make sense. And I wish that, cool, you want to do a Spanish fly off the top of a cage, but that make it make sense. That wasn't the finisher of the match. Why wasn't that the finisher of the match? And now I feel like an old wrestler, like an old vet, just complaining. I love it when people can make it make sense. Is there any wrestler that you pattern yourself after?
I probably say a couple of the ones I grew up. So I'll say Kurt Angle and Eddie Guerrero are two of the people that I've really like tried to mold myself out of.
Mhm.
I'm not really technical like a Kurt Angle, but I try to be,
Yeah,
or at least I try and incorporate some of his move set, as well as Eddie Guerrero as well. So I mean, I would say those two. Chris G and Christian. I'll say Christian. I love Christian.
Captain Charisma.
Yeah, Mr. Charisma himself, man. I like to patent myself a little bit after him in terms of like promo ability and stuff.
Hmm.
It's like any category of wrestling, I'll try and like think about who I want to mold myself after. Like if you ask me for promos, I'll say Christian or a Mr. Kennedy. Yeah,
Hmm.
heel, like what I want that heat. I'm gonna go for like a Muhammad Hassan or something like that. You know what I'm saying? So I'll study different people based off of like what I'm trying to mold myself off of.
So, how do you study different wrestlers?
So I mean, I go about their matches, of course, but aside
Hmm.
from that, it's like if I'm looking for a specific, like how they maneuver in the ring, how they do this, how they go into the next spot, this or that, I'll just go based off of that. Like I was just saying with Muhammad Hassan, I'll watch him not for his wrestling prowess or anything like that, but how he works the crowd. I'll watch him and see how he magnets that heat that all wrestlers as a bad guy would want.
Hmm.
Or if I'm looking for like the in ring technical prowess, I'll watch Kurt Angle. I'll watch a short little match of his and see how he maneuvers with intensity. Or Eddie Guerrero, how he moves with intensity. Or maybe like a Benoit where he moves with intensity, stuff like that.
That was always my favorite. It was just like, I'm gonna hit you. I'm gonna hit you hard, but I'm gonna hit you safe.
Exactly.
And sometimes that's a double-edged sword because people aren't used to that anymore. They're used to kind of laying off of the energy. It's like, no, we have to make this look real as
Exactly.
possible. Like, don't punch me in the nose, but just hit me right here in the meat.
Exactly. There's a saying, of course, snug but safe, you know?
Yeah.
You got to make things look intense, but just because they look intense doesn't mean that they'll feel intense.
Hmm. So, what would you say is one of your biggest weaknesses that you might need to improve in wrestling?
Right now, I would just say probably my star power. Like I do excel in getting the crowd over, whether I'm a bad guy. I've been a bad guy most of my career so far.
Hmm.
A fan of like maybe the last couple years, but you know what I'm saying, whether it's getting a crowd reaction, a good or bad crowd reaction, I can garner attention, but I don't feel like I can say that I'm like a silhouette and you can think about me as like a figure. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Uh, there was this one saying by a producer named Gabe Sapolsky from WB. He would say to us in seminars, like, you want to think about a silhouette, and as soon as you see that silhouette, black and white, you can immediately picture that wrestler fitting that mold instantly
Hmm.
like that. That's the goal that I'm trying to get towards right now. Of like any chance you see of like, I wonder what an indie WWE superstar is going to be looking like when they get signed, or who should be signed next. I want you to think about me immediately, just like that. So
Okay.
that's something I'm trying to work towards.
And with WrestleMania being this weekend,
Oh yeah.
how excited are you for it? And what are some of Who do you think is going to win some of these matches?
Man, I'm very excited. I got a couple bets going on with a couple of my friends. We're gonna be watching Mania. So I'm hoping Cena wins. That's on my big bet list. There's him. I'm gonna say Jay Uso's gonna win. I would prefer Gunther, but Uso's probably gonna go over. And then that triple threat main event for night one. I've always enjoyed CM Punk's work. I really would hope that he goes over.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we'll see what happens, you know.
See, I'm kind of in the same boat as you. I definitely want Cena to win. And then I'm saying that Cena wins it, he holds it to like the very last few days. And then CM Punk is the one to take the title off of him.
Mm,
And then with the triple threat match, I I like all three of them. Seth Rollins is really annoying now. Him and Rhea Ripley are people who I like. I like them, but they're mad annoying right now.
mm.
But like we have a drinking game that's going to be going on where if you like how many super kicks you got to take a shot,
Oh, good.
and so everybody's will be drunk off the
Yeah,
Jameson so
I was
much.
last year with him and Jimmy because me and my dogs did it last year.
Hmm.
I tell you, we were slumped on that couch. I'm
It,
never doing
yeah.
that again.
But I can't wait to see Penta his entrance at WrestleMania.
Fire.
Um, that it's I tell people WrestleMania is the wrestling Super Bowl.
It
Like
is.
people from around the world, yes, come to the Super Bowl, but a lot more people come for professional wrestling. And depending on where they're at, it's a week-long event. I think
Hmm.
in a couple years, WrestleMania is going to be here in Indianapolis, where I live, and I'm already trying to get things set up for Mania because that's going to be just a week-long attraction. WrestleMania is 2 nights now, and that's a whole week and 2 nights of fun activities that you can get people to go to.
Exactly.
That's
Exactly.
why I like Mania. And
Oh yeah. I remember I was actually up in Jersey, Pennsylvania last year
mhm,
for and that whole weekend or that whole week period, aside from like the stuff you would see on TV, like AEW and then TNA and then all the Raws and SmackDowns and Hall of Fames and stuff like that,
mhm,
there would always be a circuit of like wrestling independent shows all around throughout the weekend or throughout the week. So there was like a Murder Mania where I went to, or there was a whole uh, beach indie show going on, or in the middle of a festival and stuff like that. Mania week. I won't say weekend, but Mania week itself is so big that I think like on a larger scale, like if they decide to make it like a week event or something along the lines, like
mhm.
it's only going to especially for us indie guys.
Yeah, I remember not WrestleMania. Royal Rumble came here in February, and what
Hmm.
one of the promotions did was they rented out a whole building, and they had a 7, 8 like show festival of wrestling
Mm.
that whole weekend. And I was like, that is something that we need. Plus, my goal is I want to see more young black kids at wrestling shows. Like there's so
Hmm.
many that love professional wrestling, but not too many people know about indie wrestling. And I try to tell
Exactly.
people you can go to the feds and the CIA, which is obviously WWE and AEW, but if you want to have an affordable night of pro wrestling, you have to go to these local indie shows because you're going to have fun. Your kids are going to have fun. You're going to see talent that you've never seen before, and you never know who is actually going to like elevate to being someone that you can see on the WWE and AEW.
Hmm.
So that's also my goal for this podcast, Post of the Ring. Is I want to highlight indie wrestling way more than everybody else, because everybody wants to talk to the WWE guys, AEW, TNA, but no one focuses on this right here. And the Indies is where it starts, and more people need to focus on the start and not the finish.
Indeed, indeed. I think right now more than ever, I think the indies is like we're really starting to reach a certain level, especially with like the WBID stuff going on.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's reinvigorated a lot of wrestlers to try and strive for greater heights. Not even just wrestlers, period, like the promotions,
Mm-hmm.
along the lines, but just indie wrestling as a whole. I think we got a lot more to strive for right now.
Yeah. But before I let you go, please let promoters or anyone who's watching this know how to get a hold of you. And if you have any shows coming up, please plug them for me.
I got you. So you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, whichever one you want to hit me up for. It'll be my name, Elliott Shock, or on Instagram, Elliott_Shock. You can hit me up there in the DMs if you want to book me or just say hello or whatever. I will be at 2 shows next week, Friday, Saturday. I think that's the 25th and 26th. It'll be in Charlotte, North Carolina for a promotion called Extreme World Wrestling, XWW. Come say hi. I'll be there, and then I got a boatload of more dates. If you check out my Facebook, I have a pinned post of all my dates coming up. So make sure to check that out. Make sure to check me out. And I appreciate you for having me, man.
I know, I appreciate you. And is there anything else you need to tell the wonderful people watching?
Okay. No.
All right, I appreciate you, and thank you again for being on the show.
Hey, man, thank you for having me.
No worries. So, how hard is it to balance the priorities in life along with wrestling? So, work, school if you go, and just like dealing with family and friends. How is that balance life?
Well, thank God that all my friends are in wrestling. Hey. And the only person outside of wrestling I worry about mostly is my girlfriend, and she loves it because she does theater, acting, so she kind of it goes hand in hand for us. We're like, oh, okay, like so that's cool. Family and everything, it is a little hard. I'm not really a family person, but it's like I understand like, it is hard. Like like I just want to like relax, or I can't because I have to do this. Then I gotta show up to training. Then I gotta like do this, that, and the other. Then like, I'm going back to school. So thank you, going back to school. Shout out Full Sail University. This, that, and the other. It's like it's really It's like a really tough task, but it's like I know at some point in my life it's all gonna be paid. It's all gonna be like paid off. It's gonna be worth it in the end. Where I'm